Thank you so much. It's great to see so many people here tonight. It's also great to see all those people at the Orioles game across the street. Normal in Baltimore is a really good thing. You know, I don't know, Brian, I liked your remarks regarding the music, but, you know, what stood out to me about the music was that every decade has awful music. It doesn't seem like music's gotten better as we've gotten older, so thank you, Don. It's a privilege and an honor to be selected to serve as the chairman of the Greater Baltimore Committee. It's really a privilege to serve a city and a region that's given so much to me. 30-some years ago, I moved to Baltimore in a pickup truck filled with student loans with the promise of a job at T. Rowe Price. For the record, I actually still have the pickup truck. Baltimore and its people gave me so much before I was able to give anything back to them. In the years that followed, I've been able to be associated with some wonderful companies and some wonderful not-for-profits, T. Rowe Price, obviously, Camden Partners, Calvert Education, the BMA, and it's so great to see Doreen here tonight, the Center for Urban Families, Green Street Academy, all run by CEOs that took pride in surrounding themselves with really strong people, and they all made me look infinitely more effective than I really am. It's a joy tonight to spend this evening with so many friends, to follow my friend Brian Rogers as the chairman of the GBC, and especially to have my youngest son, Graham, in attendance. Graham, I'm very, very proud of you. Before I get into my formal remarks and in consideration of the events of the last few weeks, I'd like to make a couple of acknowledgments and extend a few thank yous. The mayor is graciously here tonight. She was in a situation that none of us would envy. She made hundreds of decisions in a horrific storm with incomplete information. And I'm sure I speak for everyone in this room when I say that we can't fully appreciate the scope of the difficulty of the choices that you faced. But we acknowledge your handling of those incredibly tough days for our city, and we will always be grateful for it. Our state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, acted quickly and decisively. She stood tall in the national limelight, and I bring her up because I think we can respect her decision-making by creating a climate for a fair trial in our city. It's very, very important. And I don't think any of us can overstate the impact of the elected officials who stood out on the front lines with mature leadership. I think of Catherine Pugh, who's here tonight. And I certainly think of Elijah Cummings, who's the strength and courage that he demonstrated did as much as anything to bring the beginning of healing of those wounds to our city. He defined the word warrior. For that and more, we are very grateful to you all. You know, in a moment of crisis, everyone has indelible memories. And the ones that stick out to me include our city's pastors of different denominations, walking in unity, arm in arm, walking to face the protesters and the people who were trying to take control of our city. It was a courageous moment to put themselves in harm's way. I know Reverend Reed's here. I saw Jamal Bryant here. Thank you very much for putting yourself out there for our city. You will be long remembered for that. There is much rebuilding that needs to be done, but most of it is in the area of trust. The breach in our collective confidence that we can tackle the serious inequalities and poverty that plague our city are real and will only become by authentic leadership and collaboration at all levels. Another indelible moment for me was when the protester looked up at Mr. Shabazz, who was clearly here to stir up more heat than light, and said, "It's not about you, it's about us." He's right, it is about us. Tonight, I reaffirm my belief that there is a greater Baltimore. As the mayor says, there is a one Baltimore. That greater Baltimore, that one Baltimore lies in our grasp. It's in front of us. It lies in us. And this isn't the first time that the seeds of real change have been sown in the times of trouble. This isn't the first wake-up call that Baltimore's had. But this is the one that this generation needs to answer. I'm here to suggest that the legacy of Freddie Gray can be in a renewed sense of civic responsibility, in a collective sense of ownership of our opportunities, of which there are countless, and of our problems as well. That the actions that we take in the months ahead have to be measured in terms of years, not election cycles, not annual meetings. The legacy of Freddie Gray should be measured in all of our actions. It must be measured simply in the pick and shovel work of systematic change. The fact is that our city and our business climate are being defined in the international press by the fate of the least among us. We ought to accept that as a challenge. We live in a complex world today, a world of ambiguity, where solutions that worked yesterday seem comical in relation to today's problems. Real change comes from recognizing the interconnectivity of all of our problems and all of our opportunities. Real solutions today require an understanding that today's opportunities and how people live and learn today. The protesters of 2 weeks ago may have looked like the protesters of '68, but they communicated by Twitter, they communicated by Facebook. And tonight we're raising dollars by text, and I hope all of you take your phones out. You can't text enough. Most of the cameras have gone away, but mark my words, they'll be back again and again to measure how we are doing. The time between now and the time that they return will be a test of our collective character. And character, after all, is what you do when people aren't watching. So what exactly is the GBC going to do to celebrate a great 60-year history, to continue that legacy with specific solutions for today? Well, let's start with the GBC's Bridging the Gap program to create real, lasting bridges for women and minority businesses. The Bridging the Gap initiative will be accelerated under the leadership of GBC Vice President Candace Dotson-Reed. Candace, you're out here. Wave. This is a woman you need to know. We'll be kicking off the Bridging the Gap program on June 8th. The GBC will be conducting personal and professional development programs, a new purchasing initiative for women in minority business, and a mentoring program all this year. Prince had it right last night, and I know some of you were at that concert. I got to admit I was. He said, "The next time I'm in Baltimore, I want to stay at your hotel." And he said, peace is spelled P-I-E-C-E. Candace, I think you can make that happen. Sustainable social change and the business climate are inextricably linked. The GBC will continue to be a voice for tax credits for angel investing. You know, our city and our region, as Brian said, have seen an explosion of small entrepreneurial companies. There's tremendous opportunities for these innovators, and a small amount of investment from our state in angel tax credits would go a long ways to driving that. We will fight to preserve a well-funded transportation fund, because superior transportation infrastructure will be a reliable funding mechanism. It is a core pillar to our competitive advantage in Baltimore and the region. The GBC will also engage in community discussions to assist us in being better informed, and we will listen. Baltimore is famous for talking, but in the post-Freddie Gray era, we need to talk and listen to people that we wouldn't normally be talking with. Out of these discussions, it's our intent to include as part of the 2016 GBC Legislative Action Program an urban improvement agenda for the Maryland General Assembly. One of the challenges that we face in Baltimore is our unemployment rate. There are literally thousands of eligible workers in Baltimore who have expungible non-convictions that can easily be identified in the Maryland criminal database. Employers don't distinguish between convictions and charges. We need to make expungements for non-convictions automatic. Now, those of you who ask, how does this fit into the GBC's charter? Well, I would say we compete in a regional economy. And with this simple change, we can show the real quality, which is outstanding, of our workforce. It's good for business to do things like that. Similar, we need to change our child support collection policies. There are 6,000 young men who return to Baltimore every year from incarceration and immediately confront the financial challenges of being arrears in their child support. Now, this is child support owed to the state for welfare payments made to the mother of their children. Now, why we have to reimburse the state for welfare payments is another issue. But in Maryland, when those men come back home and they're in arrears, they can't have a driver's license. 65% of their W-2 income is going to be garnished. Any bank account they open up is garnished. And the collection of it's been outsourced to a New York Stock Exchange company that gets a piece of the action for every dollar that they collect. It's no wonder that the drug trade is a temptation. Again, you ask, why is that a relevant thing for the GBC to take on? Well, I can tell you as a person who's bringing businesses to town, as a private equity individual who's starting companies, I get tired of CEOs that I'm trying to recruit and companies that I'm trying to bring to town asking about the persistence of the drug trade in Baltimore. All of our problems are interconnected. Social change is inextricably connected with economic improvement. The GBC will also work to remove employment barriers for people with criminal backgrounds. More businesses need to reevaluate their employment practices that prohibit hiring people with criminal backgrounds. Johns Hopkins and the Center for Urban Families have created an innovative program that Ron Peterson's been bragging about that works. We need to talk to all of our member organizations about exploring what their employment policies are. The GBC will also work cooperatively with the city to help build bench strength in our public institutions. We've initiated a discussion with Gregory Thornton, who the mayor made a great choice in hiring, at the Baltimore City Public Schools to do just that. There is a huge talent and leadership experience in the GBC membership pool. The ability to assist in the development of capacity and problem-solving skills is a value that the GBC and our members and our employees of our members can provide. The GBC is not in the business of teaching kids, but by helping Baltimore City Public Schools build talent capacity, we will effectively contribute to better academic outcomes. If one is looking to grow an economy, better public schools are about as good an investment as you can think of. Bench strength is also critically important to grow these companies that Brian was talking about, these young entrepreneurial businesses that are moving to Baltimore and moving to the region. Baltimore, as the mayor has said many times, and she is spot on, has been propelled to one of the top 4 landing places for millennials in the United States. That's not just because it's a great place to live, it's because so many young businesses are offering employment for another generation and the next set of young people coming to town. The GBC will begin this summer a program to match our board members with small business CEOs that will include women and minority CEOs as well. I'm particularly excited about this. It will allow us to move quickly and effectively to scale those small businesses that are the key driver of employment in our city and our region. Let's just not talk about the goal, a great one, of bringing 10,000 families to Baltimore. Let's talk about building 10,000 companies in Baltimore. The GBC will also continue its effort to grow the Hire One Youth Program and work with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Jason Perkins Cohen in particular, who was another great hire, to expand the summer employment program. Our ultimate goal in collaboration with the city is to provide all young people who have registered for a summer job the summer job that they would like. It's interesting, a similar program in Washington, D.C. employs 17,000 kids every summer. I don't see why we can't do that. The GBC will also support the efforts of the BDC in rebuilding and assisting businesses which were hurt by the recent events. Bill Cole has done an outstanding job there. They've been around and interviewed, I think, over 350 businesses in the 2 weeks since the events. Each of us at the GBC should offer ourselves and our staff as mentors to these companies as they try to get back on their feet. And obviously, again, I'd just reiterate, text 56512, type in Balt Fund, type in the amount that you want to give. It's important, and we have a $50,000 matching gift, so it will double the money that you give tonight. Frankly, and finally, the GBC, like it has for 60 years, will be a catalyst for today's big ideas. We will work tirelessly to raise money and support for these drivers of economic empowerment. The Red Line is a key initiative, and we will continue to be one of the strong advocates of the Red Line. I can't think of a bigger job creation engine in the near term for Baltimore City as we recover than the Red Line. It's also investment in the generations ahead. And I hope you'll support us, support the mayor, and support all the people who are buying the Red Line. We will also be supporters of Under Armour's magnificent plans for South Baltimore. I hope all of you get a chance to see those. It will be transformative for our city. For the plans for a redeveloped Sparrows Point, for the necessity of a new arena and an expanded convention center, those are all investments that the GBC can make for the long term. The GBC will also be firmly behind the great work of Inner Harbor 2.0 to renovate, refine, and take to the next level our beautiful resource at the Inner Harbor. And the Light City Festival, we will be a big supporter of the Light City Festival scheduled for March of 2016. Light City is as important as ever as we establish ourselves as a go-to place for tourists. If any of you want to get excited about what will bring the world's audience to Baltimore for all the right reasons, hit www.lightcitybaltimore.org. It is a fabulous website, and this is a really important project. A little over a year ago, my foundation ran its first Speak Up Baltimore survey. The results were really illuminating to me. They highlighted what I believe is a culture of low expectations that has truly held us back in our city. The vast majority of the 600-plus city residents that took the survey felt that Baltimore should aspire to be a great city. But only a third thought that we were better than average today, and very few thought that we would get where they wanted us to be. The last 2 weeks was a wake-up call. Freddie Gray's death was a wake-up call. But as I said before, the seeds of social change and the seeds of economic revival over and over in our history have sprung from times of trouble, and I think that's the case today. We need to expect more of ourselves and act on it. We need to believe that this city has the capacity to solve its own problems. There is a greater Baltimore, a one Baltimore. It's within our grasp. And to paraphrase one of my favorite singers, Mary J. Blige, we've made it to the top. If you think about it, we've got the Orioles, we've got the Ravens, we've got Johns Hopkins Hospital, University of Maryland. Our city is bookended by two of the greatest healthcare institutions on the planet. We have great universities and the most talented people on the planet in some ways. We have more Nobel Prize winners per capita than any other city, any other municipality but 10 in the United States. This is a great place. We have made it to the top. But as Mary J. Blige says, we can't keep doubting ourselves anymore. The GBC needs your support, and I need your help to be as good a chairman as I can possibly be. Bless the city, and thank you all.